All right, let's dive straight into this explainer. Today, we're unpacking a really striking and honestly pretty heavy topic. We're looking at the alleged contradictions within the justice system. And to do that, we're going to closely examine the very different experiences of two women. As you'll see, this isn't just about comparing two individuals. According to the sources, it's a reflection of a legal framework that seems to be operating on completely different standards.
Which brings us to the core question of our entire analysis today. What actually happens when the law seemingly bows to the powerful but crushes the weak? In this explainer, we'll be looking through the lens of recent news and reports to understand a justice system that critics say is operating on two entirely separate tiers.
Now, what's really interesting here is the stark contrast between what's on paper and the reality on the ground. The Constitution of Pakistan makes a very clear promise. Everyone is equal in the eyes of the law, right? But as we're about to see from our sources, observers are pointing out a massive, glaring disconnect between that written promise of equality and the actual treatment people receive.
So, let's start by looking objectively at our first case study, the powerful accused.
The allegations here are definitely not minor. This woman is accused of running a drug network that's allegedly ruining the lives of young people. Obviously, in the eyes of the law, that is a severe crime. But reports indicate that despite these heavy accusations, her ties to influential circles seem to completely alter how law enforcement behaves.
Just look at the details being reported. She steps out of the police mobile with total confidence. Officials are walking right beside her, but no handcuffs. There are no strict security cordons that you'd typically see for a suspect facing such serious charges. Analysts and observers have pointed out that this looks way more like the VIP protocol given to a celebrity than the treatment of a criminal suspect.
And this specific scenario has sparked massive outrage online. Citizens are basically all asking the exact same thing. What if this was a poor, unconnected woman? Would she ever get this kind of respect? For critics, this is a huge question mark hanging over the transparency of the whole system.
Okay, let's pivot now and compare that first scenario with our second case, the political worker.
So what's her alleged crime? Simply her association with a specific political party, participating in protests, and allegedly chanting anti-state slogans. The nature of these charges is obviously vastly different from a drug ring. Yet, according to the sources, the response from the state apparatus here is shockingly different and significantly harsher.
Let's break down what's being reported. It's basically a relentless campaign of pressure. We're talking late-night police raids, being arrested right in front of her kids, pushed and humiliated outside courtrooms, and getting trapped in this endless, dizzying loop of hearings. Sources report that the minute she gets bail in one case, a brand new FIR is immediately filed. Human rights activists are calling this a deliberate legal maze designed to break her down.
When you put these two realities side by side, the objective difference in police protocol practically jumps off the page. On one hand, you have serious drug charges, but no handcuffs and full VIP treatment. On the other, political charges, but met with incredibly harsh treatment and a mountain of lawsuits. Critics argue this points to a system that essentially punishes political disfavor way more aggressively than actual criminal allegations.
It is a deeply unsettling contrast. You have a confident accused stepping out of a police vehicle without an ounce of fear. And then you have a mother forced to leave her children behind, desperately hoping for justice, but only getting slapped with new court dates. It's like looking at two entirely different worlds.
This brings us to the systemic disconnect and the reality that the public is actively watching unfold.
To really understand the public fallout here, let's look at some social media observations. One citizen noted, "The police are immediately strict with the poor, but influential people get full protocol." It's a sentiment that perfectly captures how a growing chunk of the public feels, that wealth and influence have literally become a shield against the law. We also saw this observation from a woman online who said, "Political differences are one thing, but a woman should not be humiliated." This really shows that people are separating political disagreements from the basic human dignity that should be maintained during any legal process.
The youth are chiming in too, with one saying, if a person is a criminal, treat them according to the law. If innocent, don't harass them. Analysts warn that when the public feels institutions are just coddling the powerful while harassing the vulnerable, respect for the law simply evaporates.
And that leads us to the broader societal fallout, the cost of inequality. Experts are sounding the alarm that this is a dangerous tipping point for any state. When trust in the justice system completely evaporates, society reaches a very dark place. The ultimate danger? People just stop going to the courts altogether. Instead, they bypass the law and resort to raw power.
force, or factions to settle their disputes. Critics argue this is exactly where the rule of law starts to crumble.
So as we wrap up this explainer, I want to leave you with this final lingering thought. Is justice truly blind, or does it actually see power, connections, and politics? Looking at the contrasting realities of these two women, it's a question we absolutely have to reflect on. Because according to the experts, how a society answers this question determines the entire future of its public trust and the rule of law. Thanks for joining me today.